When I started keeping aquariums, I made every mistake you are about to see. And if you don't know what to look out for, you probably will too. If you're not a beginner, tell me if you agree. And if you are, this video might save you months of frustration. Someone left a comment in my last video mentioning mechanical filtration and how it can actually help with algae. And I think this is something every beginner needs to hear. When we first start in the hobby, we try to save money anywhere we can. And that usually means running a sponge filter because it's cheap, reliable, and easy to use. One of the problems I see with sponge filters is that they keep all the debris inside the aquarium. It's not bad filtration, but it doesn't remove anything from the system. A canister filter, or even a simple cascade filter, works differently. They physically take debris out of the aquarium and trap it somewhere else. And that small difference can have a big impact on algae, because all that debris sitting inside the tank eventually breaks down into ammonia. Even if you have good biological filtration, there's always a window where that breakdown feeds algae. So the cleaner your water stays on a physical level, the fewer nutrients algae have access to. Mechanical filtration also removes something most beginners don't think about: algae spores. Every time debris gets into a canister or cascade filter, those tiny spores go with it and stay trapped inside the media or sponges. That's why you'll sometimes open a filter and see algae growing inside, but nowhere in the actual tank. The filter is holding everything in one place instead of letting it float around and settle on your plants or hardscape. Sponge filters don't offer that benefit because everything they collect stays inside the aquarium. So if you're dealing with algae and nothing else is working, switching to a filter that pulls debris out of the system can be exactly what you need. Not every fish is a betta fish, and that's something many beginners don't realize until they try keeping anything else and suddenly nothing works the same. Bettas are unbelievably tough, and there's a real reason for that. In the wild, bettas live in shallow rice paddies, slow flow dishes, and flooded fields, places where water can be warm, muddy, low in oxygen, and constantly changing. They have what is called a labyrinth organ that lets them breathe atmospheric air. So even in oxygen-poor water, they can still survive. That survival ability is why beginners think bettas don't need filters, aeration, or big tanks. But here's the truth: bettas survive those conditions, they don't thrive in them. Just because a betta can tolerate poor setups doesn't mean those setups are healthy or fair. It simply means bettas are stronger than most fish, and they endure things that other species simply won't. And this is where we run into trouble. We use betta logic when we keep our next fish: schooling fish, nanofish, barbs, tetras, rasboras. None of them are built for still water, inconsistent temperatures, or weak filtration. They rely on oxygen-rich water and stable parameters to stay healthy. They also need more swimming room and more stimulation than a betta does. And unlike bettas, they can go up for air when the oxygen drops. So when someone tries to set up a new tank the same way they did for their betta, it usually ends in fish stress, disease, or even fish loss. When you set up your aquarium to match the needs of the specific species you want to keep, and yes, this does require a little bit of planning beforehand, your fish stay healthier, your tanks stay more stable, and the whole hobby becomes way more enjoyable and rewarding. If you guys are enjoying the video, remember to like and subscribe. And thank you so much to everyone who has already done so. Choosing the wrong plants is something that most of us do when we first go into this hobby. There are plants that only work for high-tech setups, and others that will do very well even in low-tech setups. And mixing those two worlds without realizing it can set you up for a lot of frustration. High-tech plants are the ones that need strong lighting, consistent CO2, and heavy nutrition. A few examples of this are Rotala Ashra, dwarf baby tears, the ones that need high energy. If you try to grow them in a low-tech tank with weak lighting and no CO2, they don't just grow slowly, they weaken, melt, and cause algae problems. It might feel like you are doing something wrong, but really, you just picked a plant that isn't compatible with the system you're running. Low-tech plants, on the other hand, are extremely forgiving. Anubias, Java fern, mosses, crypts. They don't need much CO2 at all, and they can handle softer lighting. When we start with these plants, everything feels easier. The tank stabilizes faster, and algae stays under control. Another mistake people make is simply not planting enough. A lightly planted tank takes much longer to balance because there isn't enough plant mass to absorb nutrients. Starting with a lot of plants, especially fast growers, gives your aquarium a huge head start. So the rule is simple: match your plants to your setup, not the other way around, and start with a good amount of plants instead of just a few. When you do that, your tank becomes healthier and predictable, making it easier to maintain. Using tap water is something a lot of people do when they first start in the hobby, and for some, it works perfectly fine. But for many others, it becomes the source of endless problems they can't quite figure out. The truth is that tap water varies a lot depending on where you live. Some places have soft water, but others have extremely hard water loaded with minerals. For example, Florida is known for having hard to very hard water, and most aquarium plants, especially the delicate ones, really prefer soft water. Water conditioners only remove chlorine and chloramine. They don't soften the water, they don't lower GH, and they don't lower KH. The only real way to soften water is by diluting it with softer water, or by using an RO filter. For that reason, since I live in Florida, I use RO water for all my tanks, and it makes my life so much easier. I don't even test GH, KH, or pH regularly anymore. After a water change, all I do is remineralize the water until I reach a TDS of around 140 ppm, and that's it. My parameters stay stable, predictable, and my plants do extremely well. I know not everyone has access to an RO filter, and that's completely fine. But if you can't use RO, then it's important to choose plants and fish that match your tap water hardness. That way you are not fighting against your own water source every week. Fertilizer brands can be very different from each other, not just in how much they dose, but in how they balance nutrients. Some brands are lean, some are strong, some focus more on nitrogen, others add way more potassium or micros. And when you start mixing them or switching back and forth too quickly, you are basically giving your plants a moving target. Plants don't adjust overnight. They take time to respond to nutrients, sometimes weeks. So when we try a brand for 5 days and think this isn't working, that's not the fertilizer failing. That's actually us being impatient. And if you jump to another brand right away, your plants never get the chance to stabilize or show you what's really happening. The best approach is simple. Pick one fertilizer brand you trust and stick with it. Give it time to work. Wash your plants, look for slow changes, not overnight miracles, and only switch when you've given it enough time to prove itself. If there's one thing I've learned, is that stability is always better than chasing quick fixes. Stick to a plan and give it time. Your plants will show you exactly what they are capable of.